YoungThreat went from working alongside Kendrick Lamar to being accused of killing a man in broad daylight. And today we're breaking down the deadly street war that led to his crash out. YoungThreat first started buzzing after Kendrick Lamar put him on his G&X album, giving him a real shot at escaping the streets. For years, he was living a double life, 1 foot in the booth, 1 foot in the trenches. But that opportunity didn't last long. In early 2026, news broke that YoungThreat had been arrested for the murder of a man known as YCA80 Bands, who was killed months earlier at a weed shop in broad daylight. YCA80 Bands allegedly repped the Main Street Mafia Crips and was caught lacking in territory controlled by the Ara Hoovers, the same set YoungThreat was affiliated with. Rumors say the shooting was retaliation after one of YoungThreat's close homies was killed by Main Street members, and sources claim an Ara Hoover had been murdered on the same block not long before YCA80 Bands was killed. YCA80 was reportedly moving through Ara territory to prove he wasn't scared. But the situation went left, and investigators say YoungThreat got the drop and carried out the hit. At first, people on the outside didn't understand the fallout, but the killing sparked internal tension within the main streets. Some members from 98th Street allegedly refused to claim YCA80 Bands, while members from 84th Street felt disrespected and started dissing them publicly. The beef between Main Street and the Ara Hoovers had already been active for years, with violence spilling into both sides' territory. Back in 2023, a woman allegedly affiliated with Main Street reportedly shot and killed a Hoover member at a gas station, proving that even civilians tied to the beef were getting involved. Still, nobody expected YoungThreat, someone with industry ties and cameras watching, to crash out the way he did. Now he's facing a murder charge along with attempted murder after a second victim was reportedly hit but survived. He's currently locked up without bail, and this isn't his first serious run-in with the law. YoungThreat grew up around the Ara Hoovers, with deep family ties to the streets. From a young age, he was more focused on gang life than anything else and was constantly in and out of juvenile hall. What started as minor charges eventually escalated into a 2-year sentence just before he finished high school. Even while active in the streets, he stayed enrolled in school and played football, but by his senior year, he knew police were closing in. He went on the run while still showing up to school occasionally. Until one day, the principal called him into the office and quietly alerted the cops. That case stemmed from home invasion robberies he carried out with a close friend who eventually snitched, sending YoungThreat to prison. After coming home, YoungThreat dropped music in 2019 and started gaining real traction with tracks like Who Gone Slide and Hit Different. It looked like his moment had finally arrived, but he never fully left the streets. His momentum stalled again when he got locked up for another robbery in the Inland Empire. While he was behind bars, he lost friends to street violence and faded from the rap spotlight. During that time, another Ara Hoover rapper, Treyway 6K, began putting on for the set. Treyway built a reputation for being reckless and openly rapped about dying young or spending life in prison. While YoungThreat was locked up, Treyway carried the Ara Hoover name musically and in the streets. When YoungThreat came home on parole in 2021, he linked up with Treyway 6K, dropping tracks together and continuing to diss their ops. Despite already having multiple strikes, YoungThreat stayed deeply involved in street politics. The Ara Hoovers were beefing all over the city with multiple Crip and Blood sets, and their music reflected that nonstop war. Treyway later gained even more attention after it came out that his younger brother was involved in the 2020 Pop Smoke murder. Although it's unclear who pulled the trigger, his brother took a plea deal and was convicted. Treyway claimed that connection caused industry figures to quietly blacklist him, even as his numbers continued to climb. Eventually, Treyway crashed out too, getting caught on camera shooting an op and later attacking another rival in court, right in front of police. Despite everything, he received a relatively light 6-year sentence. Treyway wasn't the only associate YoungThreat lost to prison. After returning home and recording again, YoungThreat also linked up with another Hoover rapper from the 107s who had gone viral for violent jailhouse beefs and street fights. By that point, it was clear the streets had completely overshadowed the music, and now, with YoungThreat locked up facing life-changing charges, his story stands as another example of how fast rap success can disappear when the streets won't let go.
And then that's when Cud came with just a couple vicious punches. The chin called neighborhood Crip the temple, and then Cud hit me somewhere right here. Cud, I couldn't breathe, I fell.
Quaint 5 was putting in real work in the booth and genuinely wanted to leave the streets behind. But that momentum didn't last. He ended up getting booked again, and rumors quickly started spreading that Quaint 5 had caught a life sentence for murder. Some people claimed he killed someone named Shady Blue, who was allegedly tied to the Rolling 60s, but that story later turned out to be cap. What is confirmed is that Quaint 5 was sentenced to 7 years for an attempted murder case, and he won't be eligible for parole until October 2026. While YoungThreat's homies in the rap scene were getting locked up one by one, he kept rapping, but not with the same hunger. He was still posted in the hood every day and wasn't really focused on making it in the industry anymore. That all changed when Kendrick Lamar tapped in. Kendrick brought several underground LA rappers onto his GNX project, and YoungThreat suddenly found himself in the headlines after delivering a standout verse. Lines like, "I'm in the field for real, UCLA Bruins DOA up on the scene. Tell 'em YoungThreat did it," marked the first time many rap fans had ever heard his name. YoungThreat later said that Kendrick reaching out pushed him to take the booth seriously again. The Kendrick feature put YoungThreat in the spotlight, and he even shouted out "Dot" on the track. Fans thought this was the moment everything changed. YoungThreat himself rapped, "They thought I wasn't changed till I popped out with Dot." He tried to keep that momentum going, but when he dropped a new project in 2025, most of the songs didn't even crack 10K streams on Spotify. One big feature doesn't turn you into a star overnight, and people were shocked by how fast his buzz faded. The last real noise YoungThreat made was in January 2025, when the LAP shut down one of his video shoots. Since then, things have gone downhill fast. Now he's facing the possibility of life in prison after crashing out, and there's no real push for him in the rap game anymore. The Ara Hoovers are still making headlines, but now it's all for the wrong reasons. The set has been self-snitching heavily, including one member allegedly blowing up a rolling 60s car and posting the aftermath on Instagram. Weeks later, others were involved in an incident where an older man tied to the 66 East Coast Crips was assaulted. Things reached a breaking point in August 2025 during the Ara Hoover's Hood Day. The set was throwing a party when LAP showed up and shut it down. After the cops left, the party continued, but hours later, gunshots rang out. 8 people were hit. Rumors say an Ara Hoover member died at the scene, and a woman who was rushed to the hospital later passed away as well. To make matters worse, the woman reportedly had 3 sons who were affiliated with the set. Since then, lawsuits have been piling up, and many believe that pressure played a role in YoungThreat being ready to crash out when word spread that YCA80 Bands were on the block. As of now, nobody knows exactly what evidence the police have against him. There's still a chance he could beat the body. But one thing is certain, he won't be getting out on bail anytime soon.